G'day guys, and today it's time to discuss the recent actions of China in relation to coronavirus. Now, something that's recently occurred is that China has decided to expel several journalists from media organizations originating in the United States. So just reading from CNBC, China said Tuesday that will expel American journalists working in the country for the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, whose press credentials are due to expire in 2020. China also demanded that Voice of America, The Times, The Journal, The Post, and Time magazine provide information about their operations in the country, including staffing and finance information. Now, the excuse for this is that there's been some tit for tat between the United States and China, sort of sparring in the media and this sort of thing, because the Journal in particular came out with a article saying China is the sick man of Asia, and obviously the Chinese Communist Party took issue with that. But I would suspect that there's a more darker reason for this. We are dealing with Chinese communists, literal dictatorship here, so hidden meanings, hidden motives are to be expected, because obviously there isn't this freedom of information. And that is essentially why they might want to kick these journalists out of the country. They don't want any sort of transparency regarding what's going on in the country, because what the narrative is saying at the moment, the Chinese narrative is, the case total was obviously very bad, it was heading up exponentially, but now it's planed off and they've got the situation under control. How they got the situation under control, they're not forthtelling. They were trying several brutal dystopic things. They were dragging people off the street who had respiratory symptoms. They were obviously welding people shut inside their apartments and this sort of thing, desperately setting up field hospitals, disinfecting, spraying, hoses of disinfectant every night. And if that's worked, then why aren't they sharing this information with us? And if it's something else that they've done, why aren't they sharing this information with us? You think that would be front page news rather than new case totals and this sort of thing. If there is a way to curtail the spread of this disease and get it down to double-digit new cases every day, surely that's something you'd want to be pretty forthcoming with. So yes, that would be a reason I would suspect that these journalists are being kicked out of the country. They're worried that someone's going to blow the whistle, someone's going to find out what's truly going on and expose China for the lying charlatan state that it is. And I think everyone who has two brain cells to rub together understands that China is lying in its case totals and this sort of thing, because again, they were just going to the stratosphere with the number of cases, more and more cases every day, and suddenly it just seems to curtail off. It just doesn't make any sense, and obviously we need an explanation for this, and they're either not forthcoming or there is no excuse. There is no reason why these case totals have curtailed off, rather than China has either stopped reporting cases, is actively censoring cases both at the local and federal level. They've run out of test kits. There's not enough time to test everyone. And of course, we've got to think about the economic impact, because even with just market speculation, this sort of thing around the world, a lot of Western economies have taken serious downturns. People obviously get very spooked, and when there's uncertainty in the future, where there's no trust in the future, capitalist markets obviously fall. And China doesn't want to have to deal with any of this, so it's looking to protect its economy, especially in a vulnerable time when it's in this trade war with the United States. They're attempting to protect that economy by projecting an aura of strength, saying, look, this isn't a problem, we've got it under control. Foreign investors, please don't flee our country, and this sort of thing. So Wall Street Journal editor-in-chief Matt Murray said in a statement that, quote, China's unprecedented attack on freedom of the press comes at a time of unparalleled global crisis. Very true. Trusted news reporting from and about China has never been more important. And this is most certainly true. This is a very, very important thing to consider, because obviously China, being a communist dictatorship, has a state media. There is no freedom of press in China, I should say. So any information we're getting from them is essentially a mouthpiece for the communist government. So it's more important than ever that independent journalism is utilized to essentially cross-examine what the Chinese government is saying, and deliver maybe a more accurate representation of reality. And additionally to this, I would add, which this person obviously won't because we're competing with him, it's more important that online commentators such as myself don't back down from asking these hard questions. You got your mainstream media sources, here in Australia, they're reporting on the case totals. They say, there's X amount of cases here, there's a new country infected here, but they're not asking the hard questions like, why is China, why is Iran so obviously hiding their case totals? Perhaps asking the same question of Italy and Germany at this point, because their case totals are just skyrocketing. But they're not willing to ask these hard questions because obviously that puts them in fiscal danger, essentially. Whereas someone like myself, who has no fiscal skin in the game, I don't make any money from making videos. It's just sort of a hobby. I don't have as much to lose from speaking the truth as certainly a medium organisation or a state would. So yes, just one more thing to add to the pile of shit going wrong right now. Not only do we have to deal with the virus itself, we have to deal with draconian state responses to this. Obviously, this tit for tat between the United States and China is the perfect excuse for them to expel journalists from the country who might go about upsetting the narrative. So, unfortunately, this is just the situation we have to deal with. I would not be taking the numbers from China very seriously at all. Maybe, I'm no expert, but maybe double them, and that might be in a more acceptable ballpark figure for the number of case totals there, because, you just look at Italy and other places, they're just exploding at the moment, and, China would be even worse. So just something to consider in this trying time. Thanks all for sticking around. Stay safe and have a good one.